in an everyday practice sense, I can't say when I'm sitting with my clients I'm necessarily reflecting on non-duality or the presence of oneness, because often I'm in the relationship with the client and what's happening. But when in moments in the sessions, perhaps, which there often are, I guess, you know, my inner supervisor pops up and says, well, I mean, not literally, but a way of saying it, yeah, hey, well, what's going on here? I think then one thing that, I mean, what comes to me immediately, Jan, is one thing that I find very helpful from psychosynthesis is, I don't really like the title terribly, but what Asasheli called the higher resolving factor.
Right.
So he looked at that. Do you know what I mean?
I know a little bit about it, but maybe you can sort of...
Okay, well, a basic sort of model of that is a triangle. So if we look at it as in an abstract sense, there's, on the base of the triangle, there's the duality of whatever duality it is, plus and minus, whatever you put in there, good and bad, you know, me and you, whatever. Being aware as that interaction happens between me and other, whatever that is, or two things within me, the difference between staying on that, in that dual place and being with the movement back and forth between, whatever those things are, and being able to move to a new place, a third place, what as I was really called the higher resolving factor, what I'd call the witness, really, or the observer maybe, I like witness better, the sense of if you stay on the same dynamic between the two things, the best you can achieve is a place that's neither one or the other. And it's rather than going to the place of neither one or the other in a duality, of going to a place which is both and, rather than either or. So as I actually did these in several of his books and papers, there are lots of little diagrams he drew with, I don't know, could be any sort of dualities at the end. It's quite an interesting little game, so you can put, I don't know, what comes to my mind at the moment is peace and war, for example. I'm not sure they're actually really a duality, but that's another issue. But whatever you've got on the ends is, if you kind of reflect on, well, what's both of those? What is both? So what is both peace and war? And then to kind of just be with that and see what comes as a kind of reflection to that. Maybe find a word or a phrase to describe that. So if I come back from a kind of more abstract description of that to the therapeutic process, I'm looking inside the person, I guess, more than the relationship here, for opportunities where I can come in with something that might encourage that both and place rather than the, you know, either one or the other place.
So it's more of an and as opposed to either or.
Yes, or both and. Yes, absolutely. And then in a more, I suppose, more specific sense, another thing in psychosynthesis, again, as I showed it up in inverted commas around it, as I showed his words for it, external unifying centre. It's the same principle. There's you and me now, and there is that third point of the triangle, which is something outside. So always looking for something in a system, whatever kind of internal system or relational system, where there's. It's often very important for clients. I mean, again, I might not be specifically in connecting with this as I'm thinking about it, but after years of practice, it becomes a little bit sort of just part of the process, really. Being aware that I'm often, you know, in I don't know, maybe a client's having problems in a relationship, and maybe she's, you know, one part of her loves her husband and another part of her hates her husband, and you know how she deals with that. She's going back and forth between the two. I'm not sure that's a great example, but I think you know what I'm getting at. And then my role initially is as the external unifying centre, so kind of trying to find ways to look at how both those parts can be included, but really giving that changing the external unifying centre into something inside the person. So again, encouraging the witness place, the conduct part. Rather, actually, the thing of this which I often do mention to clients that I find very helpful is the analogy people often use in psychosynthesis of our personalities being like an orchestra. You know, all the different members of the orchestra trying to, you know, he's blowing his trumpet, he's playing his piano, and there's a violinist in the corner that never plays because they're too anxious about, you know. So looking at, you know, where's the conductor in that? Because the conductor is moving towards a more unified place. Has an ability, if one's in that conductor witness place, to direct the orchestra, to direct the sub-personalities, but also has a more direct contact to the author or composer, the one who writes the music. So it's still that sense of moving back towards oneness.